is one of the most astounding books I've ever read, and she doesn't need any introduction, I don't believe. Barbara Kingsolver. This book starts off with this Appalachian woman going walking up in the mountains, supposedly to meet her illicit lover. And what she runs into is a swarm of something gold that's shimmering and seems to take over the whole valley as she looks down. And it turns out to be millions and millions of butterflies. And it's a time of year and a place where they should not be. And this is a harbinger of global climate change and total disaster coming on. It turns out to be, it's a book about climate change, a very real, but in the way she writes it, funny and touching story, very poetic. It's an excellent book. Next in my book bag is Sinful Folk by Ned Hayes. This is a local writer from Olympia, and quite an amazing book. It's about, starts off with, let's see, I made notes on it, so I don't have to find it in the book. So, where are we here? First I have to open this. Okay, this is historical fiction based on an actual event. In December of 1377, in the Middle Ages, 4 children were burned to death in a suspicious house fire. The victims' parents traveled hundreds of miles across England to demand justice. Now, this was at a time when most of the people in this little village had never been more than 4 or 5 miles away from their home. And they took all these 5 dead children who had been burnt in a fire and put them on a hand cart and pushed them across England to the king to present these bodies to the king and demand justice. And nobody knows that's the whole historical story and all that was ever known. So Ned made up a story to go with it about a woman who had at one point been a nun who is now living as a man. Nobody knows she's really a woman. She dresses as a man. She puts soot on her face to look like a beard. And she's deaf and mute. Or at least everybody thinks she is. So it turns out to be, it's an amazing book. Beautifully written. Look further in my book bag. Ta-da! Lightfall by Christian Carvajal, who's here in the building, just lurking around in the bookshelves. So, Lightfall is a book about the apocalypse, about the end of the world, about the rapture. And it's satirical, and it's funny, and it's well written. And I wrote a little thing here coming from the introduction. It says, "It's the end of the world, or is it? Strange things are happening in Sugar Roses, Oklahoma, in the heart of the Bible Belt. Is the apocalypse coming? The rapture?" This is a satirical and thoughtful book. Sugar Roses is known for its infotainment company, Saving Grace, for its lovely name, and for Miscarriage of Justice, which described in Scott Turow's nonfiction book about the incarceration and torture of one Pope Duncan in 1987. Mr. Duncan says he was too busy trying to date rape a chubby Stars drive-through counter girl and didn't hold up in court the charges against him. But he was later freed on DNA evidence. But this is, to say the very least, a very unusual book. Nicely written with a strange sense of humor.